Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is GAPS coach Emma, and I'm joined today with GAPS chef Monica Corrado, who was my teacher when I learned how to become a GAPS coach. And I'm very excited to see you. Thanks for joining me, Monica. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I am very well and thrilled to be here with you.
Cool. So, Monica, one of the books that I bought for my training is your publication, which everybody needs to know about. Have you got it? Oh my God, there it is. Look, The Complete Cooking Techniques for the GAPS Diet. It is an absolute Bible of mine and highly recommended because it's so clear about how you go through intro and through the stages. And one thing that I'm finding loads of my people come to me with is they say, I've been doing GAPS for 5 months now, and I'm not really going anywhere. And I say, well, what are you doing with your stock pot? And they go, oh, well, I buy the bones and I cook them for 15 hours. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. So that's not stock, that's bone broth. And we need to really establish what do you tell your people about the difference?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So absolutely. Yes. Let us just all say, if you're on GAPS, you're doing meat stock. You're doing stock that's made from meat with a joint in it. Meaty bones. I call them meaty bones. They could be shanks. They could be necks. They could be wings. They could be backs. They could be ribs. We need meaty bones. So meaty bones and just enough water to cover those bones by maybe an inch or two. It's usually a pound of bones to a quart of water or a liter of water-ish, right? Not a lot of water, and it's short cooked. So meat stock, it is not bone broth, folks. It is not bone broth. If you're not getting traction on GAPS, go back to meat stock or go for the first time to meat stock, because some people we know have never even made meat stock and they've been on GAPS for years or months or whatever.
I don't know how they've done it because bone broth isn't very palatable, is it? It's not very tasty.
Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, and it's made with what we call bony bones, which is just bones, which is wonderful. It's a sustainable thing to do later after you're healed and sealed later. So bone broth, bone broth, we don't start with bone broth, whether you start on intro or you start on the full GAPS diet. You start with meat stock and you're on it for several months, if not a year or more.
I never stop. I never stop with the I nearly said with the bone broth then. I never stop with the meat stock. I just absolutely love it. My stock pot, it's like the cauldron, isn't it, of magic potion. That it's the
healing elixir.
Yeah, exactly. So yes. and have you got any top tips for really making your stock gel?
Yes, I've got 3.
Oh yeah.
1, you must have the ingredients that make gelatin, right? So you must have the ingredients. What are they? They are cartilage, any cartilage and skin and connective tissue. You must have those types of things. They have to be, if you want gel, you need joints.
Right.
If you want gel, you need joints. I mean, you really got to have joints in there, right? That's number 1. Okay. Number 2, control your water. People love to put a lot of water in, and you cannot put a lot of water in and expect meat stock to gel. You really can't. So it has to be just covered with water, maybe by an inch or 2, or as I said, this little formula I came up with, which is for every pound of meaty bones,
which is about half a kilo.
You're doing about a liter of water. Okay. So that's number 2. So number 1, you got to get the materials right. Number 2, you have to have the right ratio of water. Too much. Don't waterlog your bones, I say. That's number 2 tip. And number 3 tip is don't boil it. So a lot of people boil their stock. They have it on too high. If you boil your stock, it's never going to gel. So you want to bring it to a boil, skim the scum and discard it, those impurities, put it down to a simmer and put the lid on. Really important. If you have it at too high a temperature, you won't get gelatin either.
Okay. And I mean, I never see if my stock gels or not because I'm a bit lazy and I leave it on the stove. Like I cook it for an hour and a half, I turn it off, and then the next day when it's cooled, I will take the meat out and pick the meat off the bones, and then I quite often put the bones back in, turn it on for 10 minutes just to kind of sterilize it, and then I just leave it there. I never decant my stock into bottles and put them in the fridge. I just don't. It's not going to stay there long enough. It's going to get eaten. It's going to get drunk. It's going to get eaten. So
Yep.
it saves me a lot of washing up. It saves me a lot of trouble. I just don't bother. But I realize that some people who are very sensitive to, and then they get allergic-y type reactions, or they get hives, they've got that kind of histamine type intolerance, that they can't do that, and that they have to decant their stock and put it in the fridge. But is there anything else we can add to the stock to what I'd really like is be able to make a fruit jelly, but with gelatin that I've made. I'd really love to be able to do that. And I haven't quite
Okay, so that would not be stage 1. That would not be that wouldn't be till stage 5. Just so anybody who's watching that knows intro, it'd be fruit stage 5, raw fruit stage 6. So you're not making your fruit jelly until there.
Okay. Which is full GAPS, which is when you're on full GAPS, isn't it?
Yeah. You could also it could be full GAPS also. You could make a stock that is so gelatinous, and then you add your fruit to it, and you can make a mold if you want to.
Yeah, right. That's what I'd really like for kids' parties.
Sure.
So you say gelatinous. So it's what is in the meat stock that makes it so good for us?
So the gelatin makes it so good for us, and the amino acids make it so good for us. So amino acids, as we know, are the building blocks of protein. So the meat stock, meat is made of protein. Meat is protein. There's your amino acids. And then the gelatin, the collagen, right? Those are the 2 pieces of meat stock. There's other things. You put herbs in there. That's wonderful. And they can help. You put salt in there and that will add minerals, lovely, lovely things. You put garlic in there, that'll make it antimicrobial. But the idea is that, or the analogy that I like to use is the analogy of a brick wall, which is, right, we have to heal and seal the gut lining. We're going to heal and seal. We're going to do it with the amino acids, which are the little blocks, the little bricks, and with the gelatin, which is the mortar.
Nice.
Now, again, it's just an analogy because you're certainly not made of bricks and mortar, but you get the idea that you need those building blocks, and then you need that gelatin, which is going to heal and seal. It's going to seal up the places where the junctures are too wide. We call that increased intestinal permeability. You've got, like, yes, all of us have intestinal permeability. We'd have to allow nutrients through, but we don't want to be allowing toxins through and big molecules through and, pathogenic microbes through, things that should not be in the bloodstream, which is why we have to really get those junctions healed and sealed so that, the body can work appropriately. And that's that gelatinous stock. So I would encourage you at some point, maybe just to take a little bit of that beautiful stock from that pot, put it in a little cup or glass, put it in the refrigerator and see if it gels overnight.
Yeah, good idea. So
some people can gel straight on. Sometimes I have it gel straight on the back of my stove. I just open it up and like, whoa, nice. Yeah, we did it today or yesterday, right?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Gelatin and collagen. What's the difference between gelatin and collagen then?
They are, so the gelatinous pieces, like your cartilage on the end of a bone, like let's think of a thigh bone, right? Of a chicken. It has that piece of cartilage on it, right? And that cartilage is going to make it gelatinous, and there's collagen is in there. The collagen is what makes the gelatinous. Okay. Right, makes it gelatinous.
I always think of collagen as I break it down the word. So talking about the etymology of the word, I think of col as in, that's French for glue, and then gen as in Genesis, like the glue of life. to
I
kind of
love it.
stick us
I
together.
love it. So
Love
let's
it.
have the glue of life. Drink your meat stock. Absolutely. Actually, there's one other thing I wanted to share. I didn't talk about with bone broth. Very important. We do not want bone broth on GAPS, certainly until you're healed and sealed, because of the high amounts of glutamic acid.
Right.
And now that is an amino acid, right? I was just talking, we need amino acids as building blocks, but we don't want high amounts of glutamic acid, which is just a molecule off of monosodium glutamate.
Wow.
Which, as many people should know, that should be like a buzzword of, that'll give me a migraine, right? It's an excitotoxin. It acts on the frontal lobe. And if you or your children or anyone you're working with has nervous system symptoms, say that twice fast, right? They have, right? Like they're prone to headaches, or they're prone to stimming, or maybe, any other nervous system issues, that those things can be triggered. Certainly people, I'm not going to say it's going to give you a seizure because that's too strong, but people who are prone to seizures, glutamic acid can trigger. That's why we stay off the glutamic acid, we stay off the bone broth until we've healed and sealed. So I just wanted to make that very important point, because bone broth is out there and everybody says how great it is. And you know what? I would say this. Meat stock is your therapeutic stock. If you're sick with anything that can be attributed to the GAPS diet, right? Attributed to a GAPS condition, right? Any of those things, you want to be doing meat stock. If you're well, hey, you're healed and sealed. Yeah, you're just living your life. You're doing the well diet. I call it the Weston A. Price diet. Have all the bone broth you want. And it'll be fabulous. But if you really have anything going on, you want to be doing meat stock. And I just love this other book just for fun. Dr. Natasha's newest book.
Look how many markers you've got in that book, man. That's like a Bible,
there's
isn't it?
A lot of new information in here, folks.
Yeah, I've
way new. But the thing is that she has identified, 120, how many different disorders, or I hate that word, but symptoms or syndromes or diseases that are connected to the gut. And that once you start, just like you said before, get the stock pot going. Just get the stock pot going, right? Make meat stock, start somewhere, and you can start seeing the healing happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Monica. That's so interesting. And just one more question before I ask, let people know where they can find out more about your work. I wanted to ask about fish stock, which is sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to do fish stock because it's, it's so smelly or whatever. But fish stock is an amazing source.
Healer.
It's an amazing healer for your eyes. And you were telling me the other day for your
thyroid.
Anything to do with the thyroid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what kinds of fish would you recommend for the stock pot? Would you use a whole fish, or what? And what would you use? Fatty fish or white fish, or what would you use?
Well, you want to use a fatty fish. You also want to use the whole fish. So let's put it this way. You could use the whole fish and then you get to eat the meat, right? Yeah. We're always eating the flesh, because when you make meat stock, you eat the meat, you eat the vegetables, you drink the stock. Yes. So fish stock, you could eat the fish, or you could make meat stock just with the head, the gills, right? The carcass, all of those wonderful things. But you want the head, because then you get the eyes, and the eyes are going to help your eyes, right? For sure. Fish stock should not be that smelly. If it's really, really smelly, use your nose. We were given these fabulous senses, right? Nose, eyes, mouth, ears. But to smell the fish, like get fresh fish. You don't want to make stinky fish stock, right? So get a fresh smelling fish, or a fish that's really fresh should not be very strong in smell at all. And the other thing is, remember that fish stock, we're going to make fish stock for a very short period of time. We're only cooking for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And one of the things I like to give to people is this idea that if you don't know how long to cook your stock, think about the size of the bones. The smaller the bones, the shorter the stock. So fish stock is never going to go more than an hour. So what's bigger than that? Chicken, poultry. So now we're talking an hour and a half to maybe 3 at the most. So what's bigger than that? Lamb, pork, or beef, bison. Now we're talking maybe 4 to 6 hours, maybe 8 at the absolute outside.
My leg of lamb got done in 2 hours the other day. You know, I mean, big leg of lamb, big joint of lamb.
It's going to
It's
depend on.
falling off the. I usually say when it falls off the bone.
Yeah.
Like test it, give it a little prod, and if it falls off the bone,
falls off the bone
that's
is
done.
really good,
Yeah,
really
lovely.
good. But you know, for people who are worried about stinking up their house, it's only going to be an hour, and then open the windows.
Yeah, right. I'm with
Right?
you.
Yeah.
Monica, thank you so much for your wisdom and knowledge. Do you know, I need to let my people know that you've got some amazing information to share, and that you've got a Facebook group called Ask the GAPS Chef, which is brilliant. And you go live there every Tuesday, 11:30 Mountain Time, which is American Mountain
Yep,
Time.
because I'm in Colorado. Yep.
Colorado, beautiful. And people can go and see you cook up a little something and then ask questions on the Facebook Live. So what a gift. And if somebody wants to work with you, Monica, where can they find you?
They can go to simplybeingwell.com, simplybeingwell.com, and just check out Certified GAPS Practitioner on the top. You can find also my weekly subscription, which is you can come to something called GAPS Chat. If you'd like to be a part of a group like that, you can get consultations there too, et cetera, et cetera. So Simply Being Well, Ask the GAPS Chef. And just to let people know, I didn't give myself that title. Dr. Natasha did.
Wow. Yeah, lucky you.
I said, really?
Yeah.
She said, yep, Monica's the GAPS Chef. So here I am.
Cool. You lucky thing. Well done. Well, you certainly
a blessed thing. Yes.
You live up to your namesake.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Anna, was there something else I wanted to tell everyone? Oh, well, I wanted to say that your subscription group is a little bit like my subscription group, which is the Timeless Cookery Club, which is where I just do 3, 4, 5-minute little videos showing you how to make meringues, how to make liver pate, how to, and the kids I'm finding the kids quite often watch the videos and make a little GAPS tray bake or something.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really lovely. So yeah,
Excellent.
I'm the GAPS coach. Monica's the GAPS chef and GAPS practitioner, which means she's got like another level of wisdom and knowledge to share with people to when you get stuck. If you've been working with me and you've got stuck, we can go and see Monica and just take it to the next level.
Thank you. Yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay, yes. Monica, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
lovely.
you so much, Coach Emma.
You're welcome. Okay, lots of love.
Keep that meat stock going.